we accept ballots that arrive something like 4 days after Election Day. Election Day has turned into election month, but the good folks at the Public Interest Legal Foundation is fighting back, and they're going to court in North Dakota. Why? Let's find out. J. Christian Adams joins us. Christian, good to have you with us. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you coming on. Give me the kind of the backstory as to why you folks are litigating in North Dakota.
Well, because it's such a beautiful state. No, I'm kidding. Seriously, it is. But look, one of the problems we've had in the last couple elections are that they never end, right? They just keep going week after week after week after week. Ballots being counted, ballots coming in by the mail. And I think it erodes trust in the American people with the outcome when it never seems to end and it always seems to change after the election. We're used to living in a country where we know who won basically on Election Day. And so it turns out there's a federal law. There's a federal statute that sets a single election day when things are supposed to be resolved. And so what we did is we looked at all the states around the country and we found states that were, in our view, breaking this law. And in North Dakota's case, they're doing casting ballots for 2 weeks after the election. So we brought a lawsuit in North Dakota to get some clarity, to try to have some clarity about when the election ends and what does the federal election day law mean. And so that's why we did the lawsuit in North Dakota.
North Dakota is what, 13 days after Election Day?
Yeah, you can cast ballots 13 days by mail after Election Day in North Dakota.
I know here in Nevada, a lot of the changes we made relative to drop boxes and ballot harvesting and things like that at Election Day had to do with the pandemic. Is there law in North Dakota or their policy? Is that due to pandemic, to COVID?
No, thankfully, well, it was on the books before COVID. So this is a law that was out there before COVID, as far as I know, and it's not an emergency statute. It has unrelated to the bug.
So what are you seeking? What sort of remedy are you seeking from the courts in North Dakota?
Yeah, we just want Election Day to mean Election Day. That, just like Florida, by the way, we have a great report. It's called From Worst to First. Florida used to be the laughingstock of the country in 2000. They now get the results in before everybody else. You can read this at publicinterestlegal.org. And so all we're asking is the federal law be enforced, that Election Day mean Election Day, and that you stop casting ballots after Election Day, period. That's what we want to have happen, that you follow what seems to be pretty clear directive from Congress.
You mentioned Florida. Are there other states that are also in violation of this law, this federal law?
Well, there probably are. I mean, there's another case. There in Illinois, they accept ballots late. Utah, they accept ballots late. And so those are kind of the three worst states. And it's not just North Dakota. And that's part of the issue here. This is not about North Dakota as much as it's about the rest of the country and people, getting trust back. This is not about North Dakota. Nobody has anything against North Dakota. It's a great place, lovely people. This is not about North Dakota. This is about the problem across the country with endless elections. We need to have clarity, and Congress said that clarity should occur on Election Day.
What is your sense, looking ahead to November 5th of 2024? What is your sense of, are we going to have free and fair elections come November 5th?
Well, there's still problems out there. In Nevada, for example, there's a lot of commercial addresses. I would encourage everybody to go look at our video that we shot out in Nevada of abandoned mines, like in Pahrump, and casinos and head shops where people were registered to vote and the voter didn't live there. You can go see that video. It's pretty compelling. That problem remains in Nevada and it needs to be addressed. But there's other problems. Michigan has deceased registrants on the voter rolls, and they're dug in an ideologically infused crouch, unwilling to fix the problem. You've got an emerging problem. Remember where you heard it first, Kevin. Here's where you heard it first. A lot of jurisdictions around the country are just not having ballots. People are going to vote and they've run out of ballots. And they're like, sorry, we don't have any ballots for you. You can fill it out on that menu or on a napkin what your vote is. And that is an emerging problem. And you don't hear a lot about it because it just started recently. But mark my words, it's going to happen again.
Take me into the process that you're into now with North Dakota, and who specifically is the defendant in this case?
Well, it's the state of North Dakota and a employee of the Secretary of State's office in North Dakota that would be training people about which ballots to cast. And so it's the state of North Dakota. It's in federal court because it's a federal law. And it just got filed, and hopefully, we'll have a decision. And if it's a bad one, we appeal, and if it's a good one, we celebrate.
Tell me when you can get in front of a judge. Is this going to be anytime soon? Is it going to be before November of 2024?
For heaven's sakes, yes. We will probably be briefing this case far sooner than I would prefer because I have a trial coming up. So in another state, in Texas. So it will be done relatively quickly as far as the wheels of justice turn.
And why is it important? I know that those of us that believe in election day, and maybe we're traditionalists, but why is it important that we have an election day as the law calls for?
Yeah, Congress looked at this over a century ago, and states are coming up with outcomes, with results at all different times. And it just became a mess where you have, some congressional offices like in Colorado were being decided in December. You don't know who controls Congress. You can't organize the government. You can't do a lot of things when you have election day, not election day. And so Congress made the decision there should be one single election day. By that day, everything is resolved, right? You want to have early voting in Wyoming in September, you go ahead. But by election day, everything needs to be wrapped up. And that's why we have it. So there's certainty, clarity, and trust. Certainty, clarity, and trust in the American people with the process.
Joining us, J. Christian Adams, the president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation, and one of the things that, and I don't want to get you into politics, but I'm curious: do you believe 2020 and 2022? Do you believe that they were fairly decided, or do you agree with the former president Donald J. Trump?
Well, I think it's not an either or. I mean, look, everybody knows the shenanigans took place in 2020 as far as suspension of the rules. We have rules for a reason in an election, right? Ahead of time. Just like when you play Monopoly, Park Place is always going to be the same price. You're not going to change the rules in the middle of the game. And unfortunately, the rules were changed in the middle of the game. That's not how you're supposed to do an election. Of course, COVID fueled a lot of that. But in many places like Virginia, those rules were changed through a court system. Now, we stopped a lot of those rule changes, those illegal changes with litigation, but, most of them got through. And, the rules were changed. And it was a real problem. And then you had private actors funding government election offices, and the government election offices would do whatever the private people wanted. In the old days, we'd call those bribes, right? If you gave a government official a sack of cash and said you have to do something differently, that's a bribe. And so that infected the 2020 election. It was not as present in 2024. And I have a great deal of confidence that from what I'm seeing on the ground in 2024, I should say 2022, it happened to some degree, but in 2024, I think it'll be better.
Again, J. Christian Adams joining us. If folks want to follow this litigation, how can they do that?
Well, publicinterestlegal.org. It's publicinterestlegal.org. We're the nation's only 501c3 charity public interest law firm dedicated totally to election integrity.
Christian, always good to visit with you. Thank you so much, man. Good luck on the litigation. We should know something by when?
Oh, boy. This fall for sure, I think.
And that means well ahead of November 2024.
Right.
I think that is wonderful. Christian, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we'll continue to follow this litigation. Thank you so much.
Thanks much, Kevin. Bye-bye.
There you go. J. Christian Adams joining us. He is the president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation.